All right, so we're back and ready to dive deep into, well, Starship's seventh flight. I know a lot of you have been waiting for this one, and let me tell you, it was a wild ride.
Yeah, this one had it all, that's for sure.
Booster catches, engine shutdowns, you name it. Even was it an RUD?
Rapid unscheduled disassembly.
Right, an RUD. So yeah, we're going to break it all down today in our deep dive into Starship V2's seventh flight.
I think what was really exciting about this particular flight was that, it wasn't just like a quick little hop test. SpaceX was really pushing the limits here. And Starship V2, just to give you a little context, is a significant step up from the previous versions. It's larger, it's got these new, more prominent flaps, and the whole system got a bit of a brain upgrade with new avionics.
They were going for the whole shebang with this one, right?
Yeah, exactly. Multiple engine relights, payload deployment. They even wanted to try re-entry, all in one go.
Ambitious, to say the least. Well, the launch itself looked pretty darn flawless, wouldn't you say? 33 Raptor engines all firing together, lifting that massive Starship off the pad.
Yeah, it's always impressive to see that.
An incredible sight, for sure.
And, just think, during that ascent, they actually passed through what's called max Q. That's the point where the aerodynamic stress on the rocket is at its absolute peak.
Oh, I see.
So you can kind of think of it as like the rocket holding its breath, bracing itself against all these incredible forces.
Makes sense, makes sense. Although, I have to say, when I saw that flapping material on the upper stage during the ascent, I got a little nervous. It felt like one of those, those Chekhov's gun kind of things.
Oh, yeah, I know what you mean.
Like, oh boy, that might come back to bite us later on.
Yeah, it was definitely an early indication that maybe, just maybe, things might not go completely according to plan.
Foreshadowing.
But before we get into all the drama, let's talk about the hot staging. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with this maneuver, it's basically where the upper stage engines ignite while it's still attached to the booster.
Gotcha.
And this allows for a much more efficient transfer of energy.
So it's kind of like a relay race, right?
Exactly, exactly. Where that baton gets passed mid-run.
I like that analogy. And they totally nailed the hot staging on this flight, didn't they?
Oh, yeah, they did.
Then the boosters started heading back home, and the upper stage kept climbing with its 6 Raptor engines. Speaking of that booster, can we talk about that catch?
Oh, man, the chopsticks. That was something else.
Absolutely incredible.
That's where the real spectacle began, in my opinion. So the booster does this complex flip, fires up for the re-entry burn, uses those grid fins to steer. And all while dealing with intense heat on its underside, by the way. Then, just like magic, those giant chopsticks on the launch tower, they just snatch the booster right out of the air.
I still can't believe they can actually pull that off.
It's mind-blowing, really.
Only the second time they've managed to catch a booster with the chopsticks. Although I gotta admit, I saw it wobble a little after the catch. And I'm not gonna lie, my heart skipped a beat.
Yeah, you and me both.
Definitely makes you wonder about how stable that system really is under those immense forces.
Yeah, that wobble is definitely something SpaceX is going to want to look into. But for a moment, let's just appreciate what they achieved. Catching a giant rocket returning from space, with chopsticks no less. It's a real testament to their commitment to reusability.
Which is huge, right? For making space travel more affordable, more sustainable.
Absolutely, it's a game changer, long term.
But we all know things weren't quite as smooth sailing for the upper stage. In fact, they took a bit of a dramatic turn, you could say.
Yeah, that's one way to put it. Things definitely went a little sideways up there.
Yeah, those early hints of trouble we saw turned into some pretty big issues for the upper stage.
Definitely.
Remember that whole engine shutdown thing?
Oh, yeah, that premature shutdown. One of those sea-level Raptor engines. That was just
Yeah.
the tip of the iceberg, unfortunately.
It was like a domino effect from there, wasn't it?
Yeah, kind
You
of.
saw those flames on the right flap hinge? That can't be good, right?
No, not a good sign at all. Definitely points to some potential structural problems.
And then even more engine shutdowns.
Yep, it was the cascade.
Loss of telemetry.
Right, no more data coming in.
And, well, it all ended with a bang.
A rapid one.
Or rather, a rapid unscheduled disassembly.
Exactly, an RED.
Essentially, the upper stage, it broke apart.
It's a tough reality of pushing the boundaries in spaceflight, especially with a system as complex as Starship. There are inherent risks involved.
It really makes you appreciate how much can go wrong, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
And I was on the edge of my seat that whole time, first with the booster catch, then with all the upper stage drama. What a roller coaster.
It really highlights the challenges of spaceflight, that's for sure.
But hey, they say failure's just a stepping stone to success, right?
That's the spirit.
SpaceX certainly seems to embrace that whole test, learn, fly again philosophy. And they did make a ton of upgrades for this flight.
They did.
The whole propulsion system, the avionics. They even added a backup layer to the heat shield.
A lot of new stuff.
So where do you think investigators should focus their attention, to figure out what exactly caused this RUD?
That's a good question. With so many new elements, it's going to be like a giant puzzle, lots of moving pieces.
Definitely.
I think a good place to start would be those areas with the most significant changes.
Like the engine shutdown, for instance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Was it a problem with the engine itself? Or maybe the fuel delivery system, something else entirely?
Hard to say at this point.
And then there are those flames on the flap hinge. Could that be related to the new flap design?
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe a weakness in that new heat shield?
It really makes you realize just how complex this whole Starship system is.
It is incredibly complex.
Every single system, every component has to work perfectly together
In sync, all of it.
for the mission to be a success.
You got it.
And even then, there are all those external factors you can't control.
The environment of space is unforgiving.
It's a marvel of engineering, that's for sure.
Probably.
What I find really remarkable is SpaceX's transparency throughout this whole process.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, they're not shying away from the RUD at all.
Nope.
They're owning it.
They're acknowledging it. They're emphasizing that they're going to learn from it, analyze the data, and use it to make things better for future flights.
You don't really see that kind of openness from other companies, especially in the space industry.
Not really.
It's refreshing, to be honest.
Very much so.
It makes them seem more relatable.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not pretending to be infallible.
They're showing us the reality of pushing boundaries.
With all the triumphs and the setbacks,
That's the reality of it.
it's great that they're sharing that journey with the public.
I think it humanizes the whole process. It's not just about watching rockets go up and down anymore. It's about witnessing the whole process, the challenges, the learning curve.
Makes it more compelling, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely.
So from the highs of that booster catch to the lows of the upper stage RUD, it's been a wild ride.
No doubt.
But before we dive into what all this means for the future of Starship, I want to hear from you, our listener.
Yeah. What are your thoughts?
What stood out to you the most from this flight?
Anything surprise you?
Let us know. It really is amazing when you think about it. All these tiny little things like that flapping material or a single engine shutting down, they can end up having a huge impact on the whole mission.
It's true. Yeah.
It just shows how incredibly interconnected and complex these systems really are.
Yeah, it's often said that space flight is a delicate dance. And I think this flight really proved that point.
Every little variable, every action, it all has a reaction.
Exactly.
And those reactions can ripple through the entire system. And the people behind the scenes, those engineers and technicians working tirelessly, can you imagine the amount of pressure they must be under?
It's got to be immense.
Building and operating these incredible vehicles that are basically pushing the very limits of what's possible.
Yeah, talk about a high-pressure job.
It really is a testament to their skill and dedication.
Absolutely. And even with all that expertise, let's not forget that there's still a huge element of the unknown in spaceflight. It's a harsh and unforgiving environment.
You can't account for everything.
Nope. Things don't always go according to plan.
But hey, that's part of what makes it so exciting.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So let's zoom out a bit here. Look at the bigger picture.
Right.
How do you think this flight, with all its ups and downs, how will it shape the future of Starship? And really, the future of space travel as a whole?
Well, I think it's pretty clear that SpaceX is shaking things up when it comes to space exploration. Their whole goal with Starship, it's revolutionary.
It really is.
Think about it. A fully reusable spacecraft that can carry both crew and cargo.
To the moon, Mars, even beyond.
Exactly, if they pull this off. It could completely change our relationship with space, make it more accessible, more affordable than ever before.
It's mind-blowing when you really think about the possibilities.
It is.
A future where space travel is normal, where people are going to other planets regularly.
It sounds like science fiction.
Right. But SpaceX is making it feel more and more real every day.
They are, and this flight, even with the RUD, it provided valuable data that's going to help them improve things moving forward.
Every test is a learning opportunity.
That's the SpaceX way. Test, learn, fly again. They're constantly pushing boundaries, gathering information, refining their designs.
That iterative approach seems to be their secret sauce.
I think you're right.
They're not afraid to take risks, to learn from their mistakes,
Yeah.
and to keep moving forward.
That's what makes them so successful.
It's pretty inspiring, if you ask me.
Definitely.
So, as we wrap up our deep dive into Starship's 7th flight, we leave you with this. What do you think the future of space travel holds? What role will SpaceX, and Starship in particular, play in this grand cosmic adventure.
It's an exciting time to be following space exploration, that's for sure.
And we'll be here to break it all down for you every step of the way. Until next time, keep looking up at the stars.
And keep on diving deep.
We'll see you on the next Deep Dive.